Hi, this is Scott Johnson from The Instance, and you're listening to the Epic Podcast.
This is the beginning and the end.
You're listening to the Epic Podcast Show with your hosts, Lignar, Walmardian.
He told me to tie her up and do whatever I wanted to her. So I took a stereo.
And Medicakes.
Do you think the expansion will make me fat?
Enough of this palaver. Let's get the show on the road.
Howdy, folks. You are listening to Epic Podcast. We're a podcast for the WoW community. I am Medicakes. With me is Lignar and Walmardian.
Howdy.
And a very special guest, one of my very good friends, Ken.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Where's Barbie? Sorry, I had to do it.
He waited
slap Joe.
He waited all the way through the pre-show for that joke.
No. Actually, I wish I could see. That's the thing. You guys think I planned this stuff? I'm like some kind of comedy evil genius. No, I just thought of it. It took me this whole time, and it totally escaped me. And suddenly I went, "Hey, time to be an asshole!" Bam. That's how
no one has ever said that to me before.
I bet, yeah.
No. Like nobody's ever said, "Hey, Joe, where you going with that gun in your hand?" to me. Good Lord.
What was I doing?
I
was starting the show.
We were taking the show straight off the rails at the top.
That's a new record.
That's the thing. I think ever since I've come onto the show, I've helped to accelerate that process.
I really cannot wait for this. We're going to lose our minds even more.
Can't lose what you haven't had in the first place.
I know. And so even more interesting tidbit, this one's for Ken. That voice doing our intro, you're listening to the Epic Podcast. Guess who that is?
Who?
That's West. Lou.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, that's Lou.
How cool is that?
That's awesome. Sorry.
He has a good voice.
And if people didn't know, Ken is a really good friend. We had met on Second Life. That other game that I occasionally play.
It's not a game.
It's not a game.
It's a Second Life.
Not a game. It's most of my life.
It used to be until I got sucked into World of Warcraft.
I was gonna say I can't say anything like I can judge.
Yeah, like I always wondered, and I know this is splitting hairs, but I always wondered how people called Second Life a game, and it's very technical, splitting hairs. Like I said, but how do you win?
That's why it's not technically
a game. Like SimCity is not a game. It's not, because you can't win.
Well, how do you win in World of Warcraft? I can't beat that game.
Well, but there are many win conditions. There's several win conditions.
There's many win conditions in The Sims too. When my little sim finds some hot chicks and then he scores. That's the score. That's a win.
Okay.
A whole different scenario in Second Life.
I think I broke Medi. I'm sorry.
We're gonna jump on to our weekend WoW. So, Lignar, how was your
My not weekend WoW? Yeah, I basically I actually didn't raid Thursday night with Fert because I was leaving Friday and left town and didn't get back until oh my god late on Monday. Was supposed to be oh god late, and then weather and mechanical issues. We got back at oh my god late. I think it was 3:00 in the morning, Tuesday technically when we got back or when we got to bed, and was going to hop in WoW a little bit or Diablo earlier, and then kind of like I said during the pre-show, like if the phone just blew up with recruiters, which is an important thing to pay attention to when you're looking for a job. So haven't had much time. I'm really looking forward to raid tomorrow night though. I miss Team Fert. I miss killing things. So really looking forward to getting back in. Haven't gamed much at all in the past week, and I'm sad about that. But I did get to go hang out with my nephews in Texas and enjoy some sunshine. So I had a good weekend a good few days since the last show anyway.
Good.
How about you, Joe?
God, I really haven't done a whole lot in WoW this week. There's just been a lot going on. I mean, I'll just say, I moved again. I'm now in Indiana, back home where I grew up, actually. So that's been going on. I did record a little bit more of the Onward series, which continues on my channel. And I think that's the most I've done in WoW. I leveled my little warlock a little bit. I think he's almost level 30 now. So still trying to push up the tunes so I can get to 30 before Warlords comes out. But yeah, pretty much just been too crazy to play too much WoW this week. A lot of, well, not a lot, but a little Hearthstone in there too, because it's just easy to just play a little from time to time and just pull back.
Yeah, I get the quick match or two in, and then I guess we did. My girlfriend and I paid the extraordinary rates for Wi-Fi on the plane, and we played Hearthstone on the flight down. So
Addicts.
no, she's the addict, not me.
I need to get her battle tag and take her on.
Dude, she's an addict. Like, I think sometimes she's sitting on the couch doing homework, and I look over and she's playing fucking Hearthstone. So.
Oh, I love her already. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm getting more and more into that than almost WoW. I mean, only because, I mean, granted, there's not a new content or anything. That's probably the majority of it. But like you said, it's just easy to just jump in and play as long as I want or as little as I want. Whereas WoW just seems like there's just so much to go. At least for me, when it comes to all those alts I got to level, because of my own stupidity to say 30. I just pop into Hearthstone, play a couple matches, and they reset the ranks recently, so now I'm trying to get back to where I was. So, and plus I actually have. You might think this is crazy too. I have a North American and an EU Hearthstone account, so I like to play both of those, go back and forth. And yeah, sorry, I got a problem. What about you, Maddie? What's your week been like?
In general, it's been pretty somber. Just real life things going on, but in game, it's been kind of relieving. All the fun things and cool things that have been going on. But come on, a lot of D3. Just with Loot 2.0 coming out, D3 has been a blast.
Yeah, it's way more fun now, and I wish I could play more.
I mean, and when I got hooked on it, Lig and I were playing a lot. And now with Loot 2.0 and Reaper Souls is about to come out, it's like our FERT group in WoW is playing Diablo 3. And it's just fun grouping up with a bunch of people and just slaughtering demons. And that monk, oh my god. Like, seriously, every time that I grab a mob, I do this evil giggle. Like, it scares my fiance, because I'm just like, wah!
Scares him. At least he can, like, look in the room and see you. When I'm on Skype with you, I'm like, uh-oh. It sounds like that.
It's like that. Wow. Let me just say something. 30 weeks straight, right? And I was not in the mood to go into Black Temple with Ro. Like, totally not in the mood. I wanted to go take a nap, but decided to go anyways. I had no thought on my helm. I was like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. And of course, it finally dropped.
And that's why it dropped.
I have the cursed vision of Sorceres on my monk.
Congratulations.
Thank
It only took you 7.5 months.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Yeah. And now we're going to be farming Old Dwar.
Hey, yeah, we actually had a blast in there. Was that yesterday we went in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the me and Ro. We had a blast in there, just nuking the shit out of things.
That was pretty fun.
Sorry, go ahead.
I miss Old Dwar and I miss Nax. I don't know. I miss Sunwell. So we have a bunch of transmog runs to do. I'm just saying. For the marathon, yeah. Other than that, outside, I've been watching a lot of movies. with the fiance, I ended up watching Despicable Me 2, which is absolutely adorable. I wasted 2 hours of my life watching Sandra Bullock spin around in space.
We watched that too over the weekend.
I was just like, this is awesome.
The special effects were amazing.
Yeah, the special effects were amazing, and it was eerie because the whole every space movie that you see, they have the sound outside. Like you hear the space shuttle zooming past, and like that's not real, man.
Right.
But that eerie silence in that movie, just except for her panting for like 2 hours, freaking out. Anyways, but yeah, lots of movies. Ken, what's your week been like?
Working a lot. The wife's been out of town, so I have not really been doing much of anything in real life other than work, which I like because I just sit at home in my little apartment and I just goof off on the computer and have a little music going on in the background and a little bit of Second Life. But I've gotten addicted lately. After we explained why I haven't really been playing too much WoW lately, on MechWarrior Online.
Love that game.
And I cannot get enough. And it's supposed to be free. And I have spent $90 in 2 weeks on stuff. And I'm addicted. It is just so fun.
Yeah.
I think they have some kind of formula for, okay, well, you earn the in-game credits for playing and just all the matches. And like you were saying before, that you can just kind of pop in and play like a quick game. You can play a game in like 5 minutes. So if I have a few minutes to kill, I can just pop in there. But I played all weekend long, and you can't get enough stuff fast enough. So that's when you have to spend money. And yeah, I've lost control.
I've yet to let the credit card sneak out of my wallet for that game, but I do love that game. I played enough to get enough in-game currency to buy my own mech, and it's but I still have fun with it. I haven't played in a couple weeks, but I do love that game.
I've been trying to find, and they have so many different kinds of weapons and different kinds of play styles. You know, kind of like in WoW, you know, there's all the different classes and races, and there's so many different mechs, and they all play differently, and then there's different kinds of weapons. So I've been trying to kind of find what I was good at, because I'm not a very good gamer. I'm just not. So I my play style in MechWarrior Online is kind of similar to my playstyle in WoW. Like I like magic users, I like kind of standing back and blasting stuff. So I kind of have long ranged weapons, and so if I didn't like a mech, I'd say, all right, crap, I'll go spend another $15 and buy another mech. And it's like literally $15 to buy a mech, and I've only bought 4. I think.
You think?
Plus other stuff. Yeah, so it's just I'm liking it more as I get better, and I'm finding the play style that I like. And you play with groups, so there's like 12 people, and they're what do you call them in WoW? Where just everybody comes together, and nobody knows each other.
Pugs.
Yeah, exactly. It shows you how good I am at WoW. And so you can pop in and play with a whole bunch of people, but I'm not really a real social person in the games. That's what I've got Second Life for. So it's been kind of fun, and that's kind of what I've been doing now since I hit a kind of a wall in my progression in WoW because of everything leading up to where I am currently.
That would have been a nice segue into a couple of questions, but we're going to go ahead and talk with you about WoW. There's this whole labeling between different WoW players, and it's the hardcore versus the casual. And I wanted to bring you on so we could have a different point of view, because your play style is pretty different from a lot of the people. I don't know if I can put you in casual. You're like really, really, really casual.
Well,
You're so
considering that
casual you don't belong in the category, is what that sounded like.
I like playing occasionally. It's one of the games that I like playing, and then I kind of lose interest. I have difficulty doing the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Welcome to WoW.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that I like. I'll play it for a while, and it's like, all right, I'm bored, and I gotta go do something else. Except that I have, before I took a break here a few days ago, I have become a really, really good farmer. And farming lots and lots of cloth. But part of that was my profession progression. But
so
yeah,
when did you first start playing WoW?
I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago we were talking about, because I played a little bit before you and I met. Mm-hmm. And I would just kind of play on a trial account because I didn't really have a strong enough feeling for it that I liked it enough to spend money on it. And so I'd play a trial account, and I'd play kind of casually, and I'd level up a little bit, and I'd get to 10, 12, and then I finally got to I don't know, maybe like 20 or something on one of the characters, and I kept playing mages or mage or warlocks because it was kind of like that. I tried a couple different things on the trial accounts. I didn't really like the other play styles, and I just kind of lost interest. And then when you got me more into it, and you kind of helped me level, and we played together, that I really enjoyed that, playing with you, just like playing the game with a friend. Mm-hmm. And running quests and doing stuff was a lot of fun. And of course, you having a very well-established WoW life and your guild and all the things that you did, didn't really have a lot of time to really level me up and spend a lot of time. And I'm kind of a noob.
Yeah, I was in Renegades.
Yeah, busy, active raiding guilds. And,
no, they weren't a raiding guild.
Well, not a raiding guild, but busy, active guild. I mean, you did a lot of stuff. I don't know. So I kind of lost interest there, and I think I got up to like 26, and then I just kind of stopped for probably about 2 years, and then a friend from Second Life, who's really seriously into WoW, and she's real serious into both. I mean, she kind of almost splits her time evenly, and she is in a raiding guild. They raid 3 times a week, hardcore, and apparently they're really good. And she's got 7 90s, different types, and we raided, or not raided. We played a lot when she got me in there. And we started leveling up, and I hadn't played in like 2 years. I remember you telling me like a year or two ago that they'd kind of nerfed the early levels. Mm-hmm. And I kind of liked that, because when I first played a long time ago, it seemed really hard to level up as a newbie, as a casual player, to get past those first few levels. You're so weak and pathetic and puny and noobish that it was really frustrating. So it was a lot more fun kind of getting up and just like, oh, wow, I'm level 3. Wow, I'm level 5. Wow, I'm level 7. It's like, wow, I'm level 10. It's like, God, it took me months before to do that. And then, of course, since she had brought me in through the refer a friend, we got extra. I guess we got extra experience for things that we did together. And then after we hit, I don't know, maybe like 15 or something like that, a friend of hers started power leveling us. And so that's when things really kind of changed. And I don't know if you had certain questions that were pertaining to that, as opposed to
yeah, kind of.
Okay, I know you have some specific questions, and I just tend to run on and on and on.
So you have a tune now at max level?
No, I stopped. We stopped power leveling about 3 or 4, maybe about 3 weeks ago. We had 85, and I guess because of the way that he was running us both through dungeons and such, and he was just kind of basically running everything himself. I mean, he's a level 90 Dark Knight.
Death Knight.
Death Knight.
Death Knight, sorry. Death Knight. And so at that point, it was more difficult to really power level us. And then they started doing other stuff. And so I was kind of waiting to like go to Pandaria and, kind of get those last 5 levels because I was amazed at getting all the way to level 85. And we just slammed through everything.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed because it was like not long ago you were probably 62, and then like a couple days later I'm like, holy crap, he's 85.
It was crazy fast. Or I was saying it's just click, blast, click, run, click, and we just run over and grab the quest, and then run, and then he blast a bunch of stuff and grab quest. I had no idea what was going on at all the whole time. I don't even know where we went. No idea what was going on.
Well, yeah, because I just realized if he's max level, you weren't able to queue for it. You actually had to go there and go in together. You couldn't like zone in, like use the queue system to just get a random group.
Right.
So.
Yep. No, it would just be the 3 of us, and then we would just follow him and try not to die. And I still died quite a bit.
So what, like other than your experiences so far in the game from getting from where you, so you're level 85 still, or have you started questing and?
Yes.
Okay.
Nope. I was waiting to do more stuff with my friend. So what I did, I was trying not to like accumulate a lot of XP and start leveling until we could level our tunes together because we had the 2 that we brought up, and so she was kind of saving that for me, and we're going to spend time together. But she's been busy raiding and other things, so I ended up just kind of spending a lot of time farming and working my professions. Got my professions up and lots of farming.
So do you just did professions because you were looking for something to do, or is it something you really enjoy doing in game?
Both. I wouldn't say that I really enjoy doing it. So as a warlock, I was doing tailoring and enchanting, and I started my enchanting a little bit late, so I was a little behind on keeping that up. So I would tailor gear, and then when I started disenchanting it, that helped a little bit to get the materials, and it was kind of fun, but it was really tedious and slow because I had to farm and then do the stuff, and then try to accumulate some gold to buy some things I didn't have, and work on the tailoring, and then go work on the enchanting, and it was kind of fun, but I didn't really feel like I was getting any benefit during working up the whole process. Once in a while I get to use some gear, but because we're power leveling, I was picking up stuff that was dropping that was like crazy ahead of my level.
Right.
So all the stuff to level up my professioning was really just kind of tedious and boring and time passing.
Yeah, I personally think like some of the professions got some tweaks to them where you could level them up without having to go farm the old stuff, and enchanting is not one that got that, I don't believe. So it's one that I believe needs it desperately, but.
Jewel crafting.
And it's easier if you can buy stuff, because my friend she ran all of her she ran her professions up to max pretty quick because she had a ton of gold from her other tunes. She just passed her a bunch of gold and she just went and bought everything. She didn't need to spend all the time farming. But as a newbie, I didn't have any cash. And it's like, wow, I got 1,000 gold. I've got so much cash. Meanwhile, she's got hundreds of thousands of gold.
Yeah, so because to buy all the mats you need, it can get pretty expensive for enchanting in particular, depending on your realm and that sort of thing. But yeah, enchanting is one of the more expensive, and jewel crafting. So.
Lots and lots of farming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, there's something similar to what we're talking about in terms of impressions from the game in the show notes, but similar to that, and I guess in the same vein, what keeps you coming back to Warcraft? I mean, you tend to be very casual, like you're saying. Is it from the social aspect to hang out with friends, or I mean, is there something specific that you really get into when you play a character?
See, I like playing with a friend or two. I thought it was so much fun just running with Medi and then running with my friend. And even when we were when we were leveling up, it was just kind of fun having a couple of people. It's kind of like you go to a party and you talk with a couple of people and there's like 20 people in the room. Mm-hmm. I'm not real social with all the other people, and so they brought me to their guild, and I said a couple of things here and there, grats when people got stuff, but never really got social with all the other group because I never really got to the point where I think a lot of that socializing happens when you get to level 90 and then and then you can start raiding. But then of course even when I get there I don't have nearly enough gear to really raid with them. So even the next 5 levels are going to be a lot of work, and then once I get there. And there's still so much to get to that point. So I like World of Warcraft because I just like sword and sorcery type of games. I know you guys are on Diablo 3. I haven't played Diablo since Diablo 1, and I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. So just kind of come back because it's such a well-made game, and there's just so much content. I like exploring. And I've just spent a lot of time just flying around and just exploring all this stuff. And it's such a huge world.
And going along with that, when we were talking about bringing you onto the show, when I learned that you were 85, and you're like, yeah, but I'm not doing anything. We're not leveling right now. You missed out on a lot of content, like seeing the world.
Yeah.
And develop and learning about storylines, because you're asking me what lore was, and I'm like, oh lords, here, have a link. Here's the timeline of the lore of Warcraft. But
it's a fascinatingly complex storyline, and when I was first playing with you and just leveling up by myself, I enjoyed just going kind of slow and actually reading what the quests were and kind of following the story. And it's like, wow, this is it's a fun, interesting story, and it wasn't just about leveling. So that's what I like about it.
So you're going back and doing some of the old quest lines and all that kind of thing, then, right?
I haven't really gone back to do the quest lines. I'm just kind of going around and just kind of exploring the world and just kind of seeing stuff. I've thought about doing some of the quests, but I'm trying to keep from getting too much XP. But even if I went and did like the low level quests, I guess I probably wouldn't get much.
And I think for 10 gold you can turn off leveling. So that way you don't have.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Are you Horde or Alliance?
He's Stinky Alliance. What?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm super boring. I'm Human Alliance. in
Stormwind Keep, there's a rogue. He's in the room next to Varian, and he's a rogue, so he's kind of stealth. You kind of got to look for him. Just talk to him, and I think it's 10 gold to turn off XP gains, and then if you want to turn it back on, it's another 10 gold, I think.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
So you can
do that.
Yeah, you can go do any quest you want. Now, make sure you turn it off or turn it back on before you go questing through Pandaria.
Yeah.
Or you might be what some people refer to as screwed. So.
Yeah, but that would be a lot of fun because I was actually I discovered pets, and so I spent a bunch of time collecting pets, and it's like, yeah, that's just probably silly, I'm sure, but
have you jumped into pet battles?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I think I have 30 pets now, and I've leveled up a bunch of them to like level 7, 8, 9, and I thought that was a lot of fun, and I wanted to do more and go collect more pets. My friend has like
he wants to collect them all.
400 or 500 pets.
Pokemon.
Pet battles is something that they put an infographic out a month or so ago that showed how many pet battles there were and everything. It's like it didn't really grab my attention, but it did. I mean, according to that, it grabbed a lot of people's attention. So
it's fun.
It's just not my thing. That's nothing against pet battles. It just doesn't grab my attention.
It's not something to do all the time, certainly.
Right, and I guess for me, like I would rather play Hearthstone than do pet battles. So, I guess if I was waiting on a queue or something, I might do some pet battle. I don't know, but so now that you know you can turn leveling or turn XP gains off and go do some of those old quests, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and some of what you said would kind of lead into this question too. Is would you, like, in a couple weeks or a couple months or whenever they turn it on, to where you can just buy a level 90 character? Is that something you'd consider doing, regardless of the price? I mean, this, in terms of money, is not an object because it's $60. It's not cheap. But hell, you spent 90 on MechWarrior, so.
in 2 weeks.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. So and if because Mitty was asking about that when I was talking to her about my experiences as a newbie casual player, and this whole conversation about buying the 90s came up. It's like, and my power leveling. It's like I have no idea what I'm doing. I kind of do because I spend time in between. I'm practicing my rotations and going out and trying to figure out, okay, well, what the hell are all these spells that I have? It's like I keep racking up all these new spells. It's like, what do these things do? And how do I use them? And how should I work with them? I would not want to just buy a level 90 outright unless I was, like, you got 30 tunes. I'd just be buying them. I would not want to level that crap up. It's just so incredibly tedious.
Right.
But now, and more information has come out since I talked to you, but when you do purchase a level 90, I think they're kind of gating the spells. Like, you'll get spells and explanations as you go along.
I think I'm not sure that's. I don't know. I've heard that that's just the way they're going to do it when they put it in the store, but I've also heard that's not going to be in the game until Warlords comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I think not knowing the lore and the experience in the world and that whole aspect of it, I think it would probably be a good idea to be able to let people to buy 90s after they've run it at least one tune up as naturally as you can. I mean, if you're getting power leveled, like, I have no idea what was going on. I'm thinking about starting another one and just slowly doing everything from scratch by myself.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Right.
Well, and I guess
I don't think they should just let people just come in from scratch and just like, oh, I'm going to pop into World of Warcraft and buy a 90 and I'm going to go raid with the raiding guilds. It's like, yeah, right.
Well, I don't know that anybody would jump in now and pay $60 on top of everything that they have to pay. After, if they had never played the game before, they never had an account, they're going to have to spend. I don't know how much the war chest is now. Plus, they got to buy Miss Pandaria, so they're looking at a $60-ish investment just to get the game, and then another $60 to get a level 90 character. I don't think anybody would do that. But once Warlords comes out, once the expansion comes out, you're going to get a free level 90 with the expansion. Now, granted, you've got to go another 10 levels to get to the max level then. But is that something that would entice you to buy Warlords, or do you plan on buying it anyway, or?
I don't know at this point. I've got to get back more involved, and I've got to get to 90 first. I've got to see Pandaria. I haven't been to Pandaria yet. I can't get my last 3 or 4 levels of my tailoring without going to Pandaria. So I think progressively over time I would want to continue on and then buy the expansion and then go and experience some new content. Being a casual player, that I have a limited amount of time, I want to come in and enjoy things, and I would never be one of those people that would be like raiding all the time.
Hey.
So many people in WoW are. I mean, that's what they're there for, right? I mean, you're there, my friends there, and a lot of people are. But I think us casual players are probably looked down on. I mean, I kind of feel like it.
I think it's a vocal minority of the quote unquote raiders that make the casual players feel that way, because I don't care what anybody says, there are more casual players of World of Warcraft than there are hardcore players. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for that casual player base, the game wouldn't be as successful financially. It wouldn't be as successful with the number of subscribers, which is directly related to financially. It just wouldn't be there. It's not the hardcore raiders that are buying the pets and the mounts in the online store. It's the casual players that are buying that. So
I can buy pets.
There's a handful out there you can buy. Yeah, they're $15 a piece, I think.
MechWarrior Online, don't do this to him. Dear God.
The difference is
let
there's
the man eat.
I'd say the difference is there's 8 or 10 pets you can buy and 5 or 6 mounts or something like that. In Mech Warrior, there's 100 different mechs.
He still doesn't need all of them. Just leave him be. He's gonna buy pets and a 90 and.
Now, quickly to intervene, when y'all are talking about casuals are looked down upon, there is actually a blue post, and someone wrote in, the person who doesn't want to ever step into a raid, even LFR, has long been treated with the neglect. Benign or not, it's still neglect. And a blue came back and said, I would ask why they don't want to step into a raid and work back from there. Like I said, it's part of the game for everyone. Someone choosing not to ever step into a raid is choosing to avoid a huge chunk of character progression that is purposely created to be accessible for everyone playing. Stopping short of level 90 would also result in fewer options and availability for character power improvements. It seems like Blizzard is looking down on people that are not rated.
I don't think that's the case at all. I think he's basically taken an extreme example and given an opposite extreme as a counter argument. I don't think that's Blizzard's actual stance. They make a valid, I don't know which blue poster that was, but it's a valid point of we made this content, you opt to not go into it for whatever reason. You just don't want to, you don't like pugs, so you don't go to LFR, you don't have enough friends to get into Flex or a normal mode raid team with. For whatever reason, you opt to not go in there. That's not Blizzard neglecting you. That's Blizzard making a game that they want to make, and you opting to not partake in that sort of that level of content that they produce. It's not. Does it make sense?
I would agree with that. Because as a newer player, I feel like I would be such a liability going into a group, and I don't know. Okay, well, what kind of raid do I go into as somebody who's trying to get better amongst people that have been in for years and have 7 or 30 90s and I would just suck and die instantly and get some other people killed.
Going through, going through the dungeons and going through Timeless Isle, which catches you up pretty quickly on the gear level. Testing out LFR, yeah, it's basically a huge pug, but you're still seeing that content and you're still kind of experiencing the raid. Unfortunately, if you have low DPS, low heals per second, you might get ragged on, but I mean it's LFR.
See, I guess to take my example and apply it to something other than what the forum post you mentioned was, like I said, I don't participate in pet battles. I don't think Blizzard is neglecting me when they spend time on pet battles and not on what I want them to spend it on. I don't run scenarios that often. It's been months since I've ran a scenario. When they come out with new scenarios, I don't feel like they're neglecting me because they're not developing what I want. They're spending time developing the game they want to play. I opt to not partake in some of that content. I don't feel like I'm neglected at all. And people who feel that like they're neglected because raids exist and they opt to not go into them, they're just deluded and egotistical. I can't think of a better word. Sorry,
I think Mehdi had a good point there. We all have strong feelings on these things. I think Mehdi had a good point that and there's, I think, too many people out there that too easily rag on people that are trying to get better. I mean, everybody started somewhere, and some people are just not as good. They haven't had as much time in, and haven't had as much practice, or for whatever reason. I am not a great gamer at anything that I play. But I like playing, and I keep trying, and I like getting better. But there's a lot of people out there that make it and kind of miserable when you try, and then they rag on you. It's like, all right, well, screw you, I'm not going to do that again.
Right. So
I've always
really
been
control
confused about the casual versus hardcore, because is it because of how much time you spend in the game, or is it the content that you intend to do? I don't know what the qualification is, because honestly, like, people that don't, I mean, usually it seems to be about how much time you spend in the game, but the raiders that I know, they don't spend a lot of time. They come in and they do their raid, and that's it for the week. It's the casuals, quote unquote, that are spending a ton of time doing all kinds of things,
I
like
think it's-
leveling a bunch of characters.
Go ahead, Medi, because I
Well,
have a direct
For
reply to
me,
that.
it seems that it varies for different people on how they think what a hardcore player should be and what a casual player should be. For me, I think hardcore and I think Blood Legion. I think method. I think people who are
right.
theory crafting and doing it for sponsorship and doing tournaments and going to BlizzCon and all those are hardcore.
Right.
But
You know,
for
yes,
me,
it does take a lot of skill to do hard mode, heroic mode, but that to me that doesn't seem like they're hardcore.
But the definition of those terms when you're talking about somebody's playstyle is so subjective, because from Ken's perspective, Joe, you're hardcore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think you're hardcore, and I don't mean that I'm hardcore. So it's so subjective that's part of the reason I hate those definitions that get thrown around in the community, is because everybody's a casual, right? Or everybody's hardcore, or it's kind of like the Incredibles, where everybody's special. Well, that's like saying nobody is. It's just, you can't give a label to it without the understanding that you're hardcore based on my perspective. You're not, but you see what I mean? And your example, Joe, about raiding, I think, where you say that most of the raiders, they log on to do their raid and that's it. At the beginning of an expansion, that's not the case.
Well, we certainly saw that.
Right, and at the end of an expansion, that is the case, because they don't have to go run their 5-mans, and they might go and do their dungeons and get Valor Capped and all that kind of stuff, but there's less to do. There's less gear grind and that kind of stuff at the end than there is at the beginning. So
right, but I think at least, I guess the way I'm looking at it is they have a singular purpose for what they do, and when they reach that, they're done.
Right.
Whereas casuals like myself continue to level characters and do whatever randomness that we tend to do. We don't have an end goal. We just kind of keep just going. So I don't know, but I don't think there's ever been a clear definition. It's just like you said, it's so subjective. So those terms have always kind of grated on me a little bit.
yeah, me too.
So
might have time for one or two more questions here, but we actually got some news and we haven't even got there, and we're 47 minutes into the show.
Whoops.
I talk too much.
No, it was a great conversation. We might want to talk about the news or have an hour and a half or 2 hour show. So, Medi, was there anything you wanted to ask to kind of wrap this up, or?
Are you going to roll another tune? So I don't know. Maybe we can play together, huh? Yeah.
Maybe.
Wow.
Very, very committal answer. Very committed answer right there.
I'm not a very committal kind of person. my life is doing.
It's not me. It's you. What?
All
I'm
right.
going to stalk you in Second Life.
So, sorry, I feel like I'm cutting you off, but do we want to go ahead and jump into the news, or?
No, go ahead and cut me off.
Well, hey, I wasn't talking over you this time.
Yeah, true.
So, there's been a handful of interviews with different sites. Yogscast was one of them that got an interview. There was another one with, I guess it's later in the show notes, with the sound guys, which I need to reread. I kind of skimmed over it. But anyway, there's been some interviews. Like I said, Yogscast got one. Everybody is going to have a starting experience in Warlords of Draenor, which will take place before the stuff we saw in the gameplay video. So it's going to take place before Shadowmoon Valley. That kind of, I guess, sets us up into going to Warlords, or going to old school Draenor. So because it does say the normal experience will take place at the Dark Portal, having you go through to stop the impending Iron Horde invasion. So I'm kind of curious if they're building that as a generic experience, and if you use your Fresh 90, you start there, and they kind of level you through that way. Or if it's a talent, the talent reset doesn't come. They'd have to do the talent reset with the 6.0 patch, but they might reset talents on that, and then build your talents back up that way again. It's kind of interesting it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Oh no, it does say here. Sorry, I guess I could continue reading and remember that I'd read this before. That characters that are boosted to level 90 will have a slightly different experience, with most of the skills removed from their bars and then having the abilities unlocked again as they play. So, And sorry, I just looked at the chat room and I'm slightly distracted now. Garrisons will, and they talked a little bit about garrisons, and we don't need to run down every bullet list here, but they basically did say in the Ogscast video, and I use the word video lightly because it was screenshots from the game, and you could hear Terpster and Ian talking over the video. But they did talk about the professions that you get from the garrison, and they don't want your garrison to be more powerful in the profession. So, like, for example, my priest is an herbalist and an alchemist. So if I had a jewel crafter in my garrison, they don't want that to be more powerful or more beneficial than somebody who has jewel crafting. They want that actual profession to be more beneficial, which I'm perfectly fine with. Makes perfect sense. I wish, however, that it would give me the option to just spend gold to buy whatever gem I need, because that's what I'm going to get from the auction house. Maybe just give me an auction house at my garrison. But I doubt they're going to do that. They're going to make me go back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar. It's my guess. And they did say that they are aware of the problem that the farm in Mists presented, and it kind of made people feel obligated to get the farm with some of their alts. And they want to avoid that with garrisons, but last I heard, or what I remember from that interview, is they don't really know for sure how they're going to do that. Hopefully they can figure that out, because I don't want to have that pressure, because garrisons are a lot more involved than the farm. It looks like. So.
You know my fears about garrisons, like I was saying. So.
Yeah, you got to do it 30 times.
No. I think I've touched a farm like 2 days in a row in Mist. That's it.
Oh wow, really?
I hate feeling obligated. It's like I get rebellious. At that point, I'm like, oh, you tell me I need to come in every day? No.
I totally get that. I hate
it.
I think that is a big, and I think you said it more bluntly than anybody said at the beginning of Mist with all of the dailies that we had. I think that was a big cause of the backlash against the dailies at the beginning of Mist. No one said it that bluntly, like you just did.
Right.
But I
think that's how I've always been with dailies, because I said recently with the daily dungeon thing, I can't stand that either.
Right.
I don't. It's not that logging in and doing something real quick once a day or whatever is a problem. It's just when I feel that pressure, like you kind of said, feeling like.
So are you talking about the daily dungeon in Wrath times?
The way you do
those were fun.
Yeah. No. He doesn't mean the daily quest. He's talking about the bonus valor that you get for
you could do 7 a week instead of 1 a day.
I want them to do that again, though. To have that daily dungeon.
But like Lake said, was it last week?
I think it was the week that Medi wasn't here, so 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So she just threw herself under the bus for not listening to the show.
I listened to like the first 5 minutes.
And then you're like, yeah, I talk to these guys all the fucking time. I'm not gonna listen to them for an hour.
Wow, there's a pitch for the show. Let's put that on our posters and stuff. We only listen to the first 5 minutes too.
Somebody did ask about that, and I think it was Ghostcrawler, because he's the one that would have probably been the one answering that. And I can't find a source. Nobody asked me for a source. I can't find it. It's just memory. Basically, they had fewer people overall running dungeons when they had, you can run 7 in a week. They didn't have the queue times. Like, they had peaks where queue times were great because there was a chunk of people running their dungeons all together. And if you weren't running it at that chunk, you were kind of screwed for queue times. So that's why they did it, because it kind of flattened that curve out and made it a better experience overall. So I personally want them to bring me back 7 in a week so I can run 3 or 4 on a Saturday and 3 or 4 on a Sunday and I'm done. Mm-hmm. But if they have the data to back it up, then I totally get it, and I guess I got to agree with them. I just don't have to like it. So
yeah, and that's the thing for me, though. And now that you say it, when you mentioned it, I hadn't thought about that, and I understand. But I guess the thing for me is it really pertains more to dailies, because the reputation is involved, and you miss a day and suddenly you've got all your friends who are like, hey, slacker, blah, blah. And it's like,
Right.
I don't want to feel like I got the gun to my head to log. I've always said, it feels like my mom's like, hey, did you take the trash out? Yeah. Did you do your dailies? No.
You get your homework done?
Yeah. Thank you. That's what it feels like. Exactly. Homework. Pa.
Medi and I were able to kind of soften that a little bit, that feeling, as we did a lot of our dailies together at the beginning of Mists. And so I guess we were proof at the time that misery loves company.
Yeah, you are pretty. What?
Damn.
Dude.
Anyway, with the rest of this interview, since we kind of went off the rails
Like
again.
a whole week of not verbally abusing you.
I know. You got to get your digs in when you can.
God.
They did talk about in rating that they don't plan any bosses that are mythic only, kind of like Rodin in was it 5.3, the Thunder King raid. Honestly, I can't remember the name of that whole raid.
Throne of Thunder.
Throne of Thunder. Thank you. Like I've been,
with the lightning and stuff.
Yeah, and I just said Thunder King, and he's a king, so he'd sit on a throne. So you'd think I ought to be able to get that train of thought rolling, but apparently not.
I'm glad you just vocalized that, because that's what I like. It's not the troll raid,
right? But they said that Rodin didn't work out as intended, and actually part of the reason why, and if you listen to the Oggs interview, Ian Hazakostas designed that fight all by himself.
Wow.
And it was never publicly tested. And he's like, they had some internal testing to do it, but he said it just didn't work out because they weren't able to put it on the PTR because they wanted it to be a surprise. And it just didn't work out the way they'd planned or the way they'd hoped, so they don't plan on doing any of that in 6.0. That's 6.0. That doesn't mean 6.2 or 3 or whatever won't have any. So, and maybe they'll have more extensive testing for their internal testing. But I mean, honestly, the guys that work at Blizzard, even though they design these raids and they can set up timers in their internal UIs better than any DBM or bigwigs, they're still game developers. They're not Blood Legion. You see what I mean? They're not going to be able to get the same caliber of testing it if you handed it off to those kind of guilds.
Be interesting if they ever took on a guild like that,
It definitely would.
And ask them to under the cover. Well, they probably can't, because then those guys are competitive though, and they'd have an edge.
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of a catch-22. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, Medi, you want to take the one about racials?
Yeah, sorry. I'm typing. I was paying attention to the chat room. I don't want to take the racial traits. I want to take the last one.
Okay, Joe, you want to take it? Or you want me to
all
keep
about
talking?
audio.
Well, fine. It's all about to get all racial up in here.
Oh, Jesus. I was like, what is he talking about? What did I just say? And then I was like, oh, okay.
All right.
Okay, you kind of went robot-y there for a second. I was like, uh-oh, we lost you.
Oh, well, I'm used to explaining my jokes at the time anyway, to be fair.
Did we lose Ken? I think Ken's just like...
I'm just listening.
Well, the reality is that with these racial... I'm not sure on how I feel about the racials, because, I mean, should I read all of them? There's a lot of them, I guess.
I wouldn't.
I was gonna say, but basically what they're trying to do is take away from some of the stuff that just is not really pertinent anymore. Like you get, better with maces and things like that, and they're trying to, seems like, flatline everything to, something that's a lot easier. I don't. Would you say watering down? I don't know if I want to use that term, but it does seem a little bit like they're just trying to make it more general than specific.
I think they're trying to
things.
Balance them a little.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's time to. I mean, think a lot. Like I said, the specializations to weapons and stuff. All that stuff is just so outdated. So, I think the only one that makes me curious is the Night Elf one, where they get more haste at night. Is it? I gotta look at this. I can't remember, but I mean, since we don't have the like expertise and all those different caps and stuff, so it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, Touch of a Loon increases haste by 1% at night and crit chance by 1% during the day. A lot of people have been bringing this one up. Does it really matter? Is it that big of a deal? But it is kind of an odd one, though.
For those guilds like Blood Legion?
That's that's what I'm thinking. I mean, if you're going to raid at night and you want that crit.
Right. Or
maybe
maybe you're a Shadow Priest and you want that haste, or you're a Warlock and you want that haste.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted, that doesn't affect Blood Legion because they're a Horde, but still.
Right.
Neverwinter. Let's say Neverwinter. They're Alliance.
Right. See, and that makes me wonder if that one's going to make it into live. That's the one I've heard most controversy about. But I like a lot of what they've done here. Like I said, in general, they're just bringing them up to date, and some of them are like I think the one that I really like the most, because I always felt like it didn't really make as much sense. It didn't seem like it fit as well as others. Like Gifted the Naru for the Draenei heals.
Yes.
Yeah, over 5 seconds, the same amount as it did over 15 before. So it's a little more bursty and helps you. And because I never hit that thing unless I was in a real tough spot.
Loved it.
Yeah.
It was part of my oh shit button on my DK when I was tanking.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. 5 seconds is better for an oh shit button than 15 seconds.
Right, but I mean, it was a macro where I did all of my cooldowns, like Vampiric Blood, which increased healing percentages and all this kind of stuff. So.
And I'm asking, did I can't talk now? Did they change Every Man for Himself, or are they still leaving that be? Because that is one of the most awesome.
Every Man for Himself is not listed under the human.
It's not at all, actually. You're right.
I hope they no touch.
That is interesting that they don't even acknowledge it. So.
There was Celestalon did have a post later where he talks about that in particular, and he said, unlike the other racials that provide some type of CC dispel, Every Man for Himself actually replaces a CC break PvP trinket. It isn't in addition to it. Because they shared a cooldown. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, they get to... No, they don't, because it actually would trigger... If you had a PvP trinket, it would trigger that cooldown if you used Every Man for Himself. Okay. So what you gain with Every Man for Himself is actually a trinket slot. Thus, its power is very much related to what trinkets there are available. That's a horrible sentence. Blame Celestalon. We're still determining our plan for PvP trinket itemization, so haven't decided what to do with Every Man for Himself quite yet.
For me, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, he does go on to say that they do agree it's quite strong and looks unfair with the current patch notes that they have. So,
right. A lot of people have, over the years as I've played, and obviously I rolled plenty of characters, I have a lot of people saying, pick this class or this race because it has this racial, and this will help, your class, blah blah blah. I haven't based my race, decision on a racial. I don't know ever, but maybe certainly earlier on, it's something I thought about. I think this is helping that. I think this is, for me, it makes me a little more, aware of the racials. Cause I
did, when I moved my mage from Alliance to Horde, I did look at the racials. And I took a troll because they have the racial that gives him a temporary haste buff.
Right,
and he's a frost mage.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed every little bit of help I could get on my mage. That's why. But the rest of them, like when I moved Lig from Alliance to Horde, he's a panda.
Right.
Mainly because I can't get to levitate quickly enough often when I'm falling. And the 50% fall damage reduction is pretty nice.
Right.
And the double food buff is the double the benefit
and that
from
dance.
food.
Oh my god.
And the dance.
Of course.
So.
Well, see, I got goblins simply because I always forget shit and I need access to my bank. So there's that. And it's not going to help me raiding or anything, but yeah, it helps me and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, to go for example, Berserking now increases haste by 15%, which is down from what we have right now in game at 20. So a lot of that seems to get nerfed to make it, okay, here's this little flavor that's going to maybe help you do a little more DPS or maybe be a little bit more have a little bit more survivability, but it's not so drastic that you need to. I have to have this class. And I think that's what they want to do. They want it to add a little flavor and maybe some fun, but not be part of your min maxing. And it's still going to be part of your min maxing.
That's exactly what I was trying to say too. You said it much better than me. It is something that is just like I said, it's something I'm going to be more conscious of because these just seem a little bit more. I don't want to say viable. What's the word I'm looking for? Practical.
Right.
So these seem a lot more practical than the old ones.
The other human racial that I don't see being listed at all is the reputation boost. Because they get an extra 3 or 5% reputation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't remember what that's called. Diplomacy, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's all out there to be looked at on World of Warcraft or MMO Champion or whatever website you want to go look at it at. And MMO Champion's got a nice summary of it. They got the list, and then they've got the follow-up post from Celestalon that kind of clarified a little bit. So, it's okay now. Medi, you want to?
Yay, me! I don't even know this website, but the frontliner.com had an interview with the Blizzard Entertainment audio team, and they interviewed people such as Russell Brower, who's the senior director of audio, and they also interviewed Derek Duke, who's project music director and a composer. They interviewed a lot of people from the audio team, and it's the music from StarCraft and Diablo and WoW. It's just amazing, and it's really interesting to read these interviews about how they make these sound effects, how they compose these songs. So I will definitely give it a read.
Yeah, it came out like either the day I was heading over Texas or over the weekend or something. So I didn't get a chance to read it in depth, but I did kind of skim over it, and the whole time I'm like, yes, I have to read this. And I shouted at you to include in the show notes because I'm of the opinion not enough people, even though we didn't really do the interviews, full credit by reading it in its entirety by ourselves. But I don't think enough people who play this game give the sound design credit. And I'm not even just talking about the music. The music is beautiful in my opinion, but just the sound effects and the things that that's all under Russell Brower's, under his direction. And it's like the NPC that says something as you run by, he had involvement in that sound being recorded and put in the game and how it gets triggered. He was involved in that. And the man is, come on, he wrote the Animaniacs theme. He is a musical genius.
Here, for me, what I don't understand, and I get this a lot, is I play, with a lot of different people, and I have over the years, and I don't know how many times I've run into people that'd be like, "Oh, I don't play with the sound on. I don't play with the game sound on." Whoa, how? I'm sorry. I'm glad you're giving these people their due because I've totally have been confused by that. Absolutely, I don't know why you would let yourself miss out on all of that. That's half the game to me.
Right.
And not just, the music for different zones and different events going on, but if you turn off the sounds and boost up your ambience in the game, that alone is just gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the shrine for the Horde side, well, it should be for both of them, but when you're in the shrine and you just have the ambience on, that is hauntingly gorgeous.
Well, go to the throne room and or just above Undercity.
Yeah.
If anybody that doesn't know, you sit there and you turn your sound up, and I don't know if you have to turn the music off or not, but the ambience there is the actual dialogue between Arthas and his father as he kills
3.
his father. Yeah, that first time I heard that. Literally, just actually right now, as we're talking about, the hair on my arm standing up because it's creepy and just haunting.
That reminds me about the whole, turn down your sounds and then boost up the ambience. But it reminds me of ambiance. But it reminds me of the whole thing with Alter. He's like, have you ever just looked up? And we looked up, and there's just all this decoration on the ceiling.
Yeah, we were in ICC.
Yeah, no. It was in Wormrest.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and we were just looking up the ceiling. I was like, oh my god. It's gorgeous. There's just so many little things.
They
that
spent so
people don't
much
pay
time
attention
designing the artwork around something that nobody looks at.
Mm-hmm.
And they give the same attention to detail of the sound too. So
Like, I'm putting a link in the chat room to this is my favorite song in Diablo. It's just it's amazing. It's like gonna pump you up and kick some demon ass music too.
It's funny because I have several people that can confirm this, Gambit in particular, that every time I saw Russell Brower at BlizzCon, I shook his hand. I think he got really annoyed with me, but I couldn't. Well, he didn't like get paperwork and get a restraining order or anything like that. But I couldn't help it. The man has fueled my fire in this game and some of my videos and everything else for so many years. I mean, I have a 6-disc changer, a CD changer in my car, and I have all of the WoW soundtracks in there. Yes, I am that nerd who drives around listening to WoW soundtracks.
hey, I'm not.
I'm never going to get a girlfriend.
I got WoW and StarCraft soundtracks on my iPhone. It's part of it.
Yeah.
And it's if I just hit random shuffle, sometimes the song Reforged from the Cataclysm,
right?
That comes on. And I'm like, all right, time to go play some Warcraft. So.
Yep. Yes, indeed. I mean, sometimes I've been inspired by just hearing one of those songs and something pops into my head. You never know, and there's just so much. I've been taking the time here in Mist with all this downtime and everything else, and really listening to some of the music, and it is so different. And I'm just really impressed with the way that they took the challenge to doing this kind of music, and they knocked it out of the park.
Right.
So.
Yeah, all the stuff we've heard so far from Warlords, I'm like,
oh yeah, that theme is just awesome.
Yeah.
I challenge anybody to, if you're leveling through Outlands, especially in Hellfire when you first get there, put that music on while you're there. That'll get you all fired up for Draenor.
Mm-hmm.
I did that once, and I was like, oh my god, I want to play Draenor now.
Yeah, the music in Hellfire is the best part of Hellfire, in my opinion.
And speaking of Hellfire and the whole sound effects, Fell Reaver, I swear they recorded somebody burping into the mic and just boosted that bass up.
They may have.
Because it sounds like somebody burping.
Never really thought about that before.
Now I want to burp into a mic, take it into Audacity, and start fucking with it and see what kind of stuff I can come up with.
Are you talking about that, like, when he's coming? That
yeah,
that burp. And I'm like, oh my god.
Never thought about that before.
What?
Anyhow, guys, you
robot
want to
gas.
We want to move on, and we'll wrap up because we are running long. So.
Oh yeah.
Ken, are you still alive?
I am.
Oh crap! You didn't hang up on us.
I'm just listening to all the interesting stuff. Yeah, I would agree as a newbie that the sound effects and it's a beautifully done game. It really is.
Yay! Crickets. What?
What did you say?
I said crickets.
Oh.
There's that little pause in between.
I said yay.
So let's move it right along to flex mode. Is what faction will Mr. Joe's new 90 be? Because we did determine that it was going to be a hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a straw poll going on thanks to Revenar.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I don't think he's here.
He's in the chat room.
Yeah.
Oh.
But his straw poll is living the dream. Moving on. Yes.
So go vote and decide if he's going to be for the Horde or that other side.
Don't influence the voters.
I mean, just saying that the Horde's winning.
And it's actually a pretty tight race right now.
Oh yeah.
It's a 2-vote difference, and I'm not going to say which side it is. You need to go vote and see the results yourself. But it is a difference of 2 votes right now. So every vote does count. Unless you are the only one that casts a vote for the losing side right now, and then it didn't really count. So
every vote is sacred.
Well, luckily with this vote, there will be no hanging chads. So
you don't know that? Please tell me somebody knows what I'm referencing.
Oh, it's neat too because I'm watching the results, so I'm watching them change as you guys are voting right now. That's awesome.
She was referencing the meaning of life.
Yeah.
Monty Python.
Wow.
Every vote is sacred.
I have not seen that one. Sorry.
You should probably watch that one.
Get thee to a nunnery.
That's actually that's either Macbeth or Hamlet. I think both actually, but
All right. Wait.
What?
Yeah, it's both. No. Wait.
What?
It's Hamlet.
Hamlet.
It's Hamlet.
Okay.
Anyway, now that we've had our Shakespeare moment during our World of Warcraft podcast,
Yay!
coming up on May 17th, we are going to do our second annual Child's Play Marathon, and we're going to start at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's Saturday, and we're going to go 24 hours till the following Sunday. Not the following, well, I guess technically it is the following Sunday. We're going to go 24 hours to 11 a.m. Sunday the 18th. Last year we had a goal of $1,000, so we blew past that way earlier than I thought. We blew past it, which actually surprised me, but we blew past it earlier than I expected us to. We ended up with, I think in the neighborhood of $1,300. I don't really remember that. I think it was $1,285. But that has kind of convinced us to push it a little further this year and kind of push the envelope. We're going to shoot for $2,500 this year. If you're not familiar with Child's Play Charity, it's a worldwide charity that give games, video games, books, movies, all that kind of stuff to kids in Children's Hospital all the way around the world. And last year we exceeded our goal because of you guys and other gamers around the world who would just come in to hop into the stream and kick a few bucks our way. Hopefully we can do even better this year. We're going to have a lot of fun. Last year it was Aeon, Medi, and myself. This year it's going to be that same crew. Joe's talking about coming down, planning on coming down. Ro is talking about coming down. Possibly Zia's going to be here.
Motorboats.
So be prepared for a lot of
Motorboats.
But that's between y'all.
That's fine. Hey, I'm actively preparing for this. I'm eating Big Macs and Quarter Pounders, so I have at least a B cup when I get there. So you guys don't you say motorboats, don't pull back on that because I am working toward. I am like doing Rocky montages, like double fisting Big Macs.
Oh my god!
Trust me, they are perky. It'll be fine.
We need to wrap this up so I can go pee.
Just go for it.
But before we do, okay, so that's it for the Child's Play Marathon. Keep an eye. We're not actually
that one from the orbit.
Yeah, that's not even off the rails. That's not even on the ground anymore. Keep an eye on the website and on the Twitter feed
Sandra
for the podcast.
Bullock touch that one. Oh.
Oh, she touched both of them. Motorboat them actually. Anyway, sorry.
Who talks over who now?
Huh?
Giving it back.
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I'm sitting here talking like keep an eye on the website and the Twitter feed and everything for updates on the marathon, and you guys are just talking about Sandra Bullock and whatever. But yeah, keep an eye on the website and the Twitter feed for info on that. We've got a lot of stuff in mind that we still need to iron out the details. But we got a lot of stuff in mind that we want to do that we think is going to be a load of fun. We're not going to do tournaments like we did last year. We might do some just fun like let's play each other type of thing, but we're not going to do tournaments like we did last year. It was a little too serious, I think, for the tone we wanted to have. So we want this one to be a lot more fun and just goofing off and having a good time. So, but before we move on to Joe closing out the show for us here, I want to give you guys a heads up. We will not be having a show next week. We will be back on the 19th, which is 2 weeks from today, and that is going to be when we start the next poll in the What Will Joe's 90 Be? We agreed to the 19th, right? I think we originally agreed to the 12th, but I think
we did, but
yeah,
oh well.
But I'm not going to be able to be here for the show. I have a real life thing, and I have to pay attention to.
Polls are open an extra week.
So yeah, polls are open an extra week. We'll do the 19th for the next one. So Revenar, I don't see in the chat room. Hopefully you're listening and you haven't just said, "Fuck this, I can't listen to these guys anymore tonight." So we might be leaning on you to make the next one. I'm not sure what is it going to be. We're going to do race, right?
I believe that was our next choice.
Okay.
Yes, and then name.
Well, we need gender too.
Race, then gender, then name.
Oh.
So yeah. We'll be giving you the final result on the Hoarder Alliance one, and then we'll start up the next one for race, and then we'll be doing that on the 19th. But yeah, no show next week. We'll be back on the 19th. So
yay! Alrighty then, my turn. I get to do my announcer thing. Awesome.
Do it in the tone of a 30s radio baseball announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are Epic Podcast. Find us on iTunes and Stitcher. Leave a review or a thumbs up. If you're listening via download, join our live chat at 9 p.m. Eastern Time in the US of A on Wednesdays at epicpodcast.com/live. I think I just had an aneurysm doing that.
It sounds like it.
Mind. I can't
You sound like the Covetous from Diablo.
I can't.
What's his name?
Covetous
I
Jen?
like the
Yeah.
ball. I can't do that anymore. Okay, let's go back to normal. Epic Podcast is a member of Catalyst Gaming Media. Be sure to check out the other podcasts, YouTubers, bloggers, and webcomics, and more at catalystgamingmedia.com. Also, be sure to check out the forums on Catalyst's site and participate in the growing community there.
Okay, hold on. For this last part, a snooty British gentleman. Yeah.
I am not a monkey to jump through your hoops, ma'am.
Good
But
go.
since you insist, epicpodcast.com is where you can find the website and learn more about us. epicpodcast@gmail.com. I just sound like I'm taking a dump. Anyway, epicpodcast@gmail.com.
Quite right, yes.
Quite right. YouTube.com/The Epic Podcast is where you can find all kinds of stuff, including the show, as well as other things like Lig's casting of Heroes of the Storm, and he also has little additional segments that he adds onto the show, supplemental material, if you will. Great, like the Epic Podcast, the DVD.
Speaking of heroes, I just put another one up this morning.
Exactly, that's what made me think of it. And youtube.com/WildMartian. Of course, you can find my stuff there. I'm not spelling it. If you don't like it, too bad. At Epic Podcast or at Epic_podcast is where you could find the show on Twitter. And at Lignar is where you can find him, of course. At WildMartian is me. And at Medicakes is where you can find lots of hashtags, Mediboats.
You're starting to sound Irish. I was like, oh, look at the Irish. We gotta go.
I think literally they said earlier, like, I can't remember who said it in chat, was saying that the show doesn't have rails. I think
doesn't.
that needs to be the title somehow. You need to. There are no rails.
Where we're going, we don't need rails.
Oh, beautiful.
Alrighty, well that's why I love this show. We're gonna mix it Back to the Future with this. I am good with that.
Kids like, right on.
That was funny.
So anyway, I guess we need to wrap it up. We went long this week, which is fine. It was a good conversation about,
make up for not having a show next week.
Yeah, I guess so.
I never go long, so.
Ken, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry, Joe's just laughing in there, and I've kind of got the giggles now, so the slight thing's gonna set me off. But yeah, thanks for joining us and giving your perspective on the game. It's probably for the listeners is a fresh perspective from what they hear from us week in and week out. So
appreciate the opportunity. It was fun.
When I mentioned my friend, Tickus.
And anyway, I need to stop this so I can go laugh and edit the show. And
his wife, do you know what she's called? Incutia.
I would like to venture a wager that there was a little pee that came out at some point during the last 5 minutes of the show.
No.
Somebody
somewhere had to happen. Anyway, guys, we need to wrap it up. We
go.
need to wrap it up so Medi can just randomly quote movies and plays here and there. And
there we go.
And
I'm gonna get my
won't make
C cups going as well. Push them up an extra.
Why I go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, until next week, thanks for watching.
Nipples,
thanks for listening.
Everywhere.
Have fun a while, y'all.
It hurts. Okay, be right back.
It's too tempting to just torture you.